I'd like to call the meeting to order. Will you join me in a moment of silence? And now will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to welcome everyone who has joined us today. We're always happy to have you with us. We follow a written agenda, which is available on our website at salisburync.gov/agendas. City Council meetings are broadcast on WSRG, our local government TV station, which is available on Spectrum 16 and Hotwire Channel 394. Meeting air times are posted on the station's website, WSRGTV.com. You can also watch current and past city meetings on demand from the city's website, salisburync.gov/videos. And now I will ask for our council to have a motion to adjourn our current council meeting, and then we will reconvene as a new council.
So moved.
We have a motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I will ask our city manager, Jim Green, who will lead the meeting at this point.
Mayor, members of council, good evening, and so happy to be here tonight with you. And this is our transition meeting. We have a full agenda ahead, but first we have to swear in you all as mayor and city council members for the city of Salisbury. Let me first congratulate you. Congratulations on being re-elected to Salisbury Mayor and Salisbury City Council. Clearly, this shows that the community supports and appreciates the work that you're doing and the leadership that you're providing for this community. Growing up, my father was on the city council, and I know firsthand it's a very difficult job, not always a lot of thank yous, but a very important job. So I wanted to congratulate you first, and on behalf of the staff for the City of Salisbury, I'd like to thank you all for your commitment and dedication and for your willingness to serve on this board. So thank you very much. Mayor, members of council, before we can get into the agenda, we have some important business to take care of, and that is taking the oath of office. And so our city clerk, Connie Snyder, is here tonight to swear each of you in. Mayor Alexander, or Ms. Alexander, we'll start with you first, and for each of you, please feel free to invite anybody up that you would like to participate and support you as you take the oath. After Mayor, you're sworn in and council is sworn in, then you'll have the opportunity to elect Mayor Pro Tem. After that, Mayor, it's open for you and for council to make any comments that you wish. So we also will have our communications director taking some photos. And so if you're ready, everybody can keep their seats. But Mayor, if you would like to come forward, Ms. Snyder will swear you in.
would like to ask my family to join me here, if you would, please. I'm going to let my grandchildren hold it.
If you would, place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Karen Kirks Alexander,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the constitutions and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as mayor of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina.
as the mayor of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mayor Alexander, congratulations. And now each council member will take your oath of office, and Ms. Snyder will call you up individually.
I'd like to invite my wife and my biggest supporters, TJ Ricks and Catherine Dolphin.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Harry McLaughlin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the laws of the state,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
laws of Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therefore,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
of my office
as council member of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina.
as council member of the city of Salisbury, Carolina.
So help me God. Congratulations. Mr. David Post.
I don't know if I'm gonna have to read it.
David? David, you want my Constitution?
Pardon me?
You want the Constitution? Okay.
I have some, I have four here.
Oh, very nice.
Place your left hand on the Torah, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name,
David Post,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear,
that I will support and maintain
support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office,
as council member of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina.
council member of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina.
So help me God. Congratulations. Ms. Tamara Sheffield.
Congratulations.
Place your left hand on the Constitution, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Tamara Sheffield,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as council member of the City of Salisbury, North Carolina.
as council member of the City of Salisbury, North Carolina.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Mr. Anthony Smith.
Family and friends, and team members here.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Anthony Smith,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as council member of the City of Salisbury, North Carolina.
as council member of the City of Salisbury, North Carolina.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
So, thank you, Jim and Connie, for your help.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my pleasure, my honor.
Congratulations, Mayor, members of council.
Thank you. And so now we'll move forward with our meeting. We will at this time receive nominations for the Mayor Pro Tem position. So do I hear a nomination?
Make a nomination for Tamara Sheffield to be selected as Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. So now we will have Tamara, you will go up and she will administer your oath of office.
Repeat after me.
Repeat after me.
Name.
I, Tamara Sheffield,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Salisbury, North Carolina.
as Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Salisbury, North Carolina.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So now I would like to offer the council to make any remarks.
I would like to say thank you for everyone who voted, and allowing us to be together again to work on some of the things that we had started and now have opportunity to finish those projects that we're trying to make this city better each and every day. So thank you.
Ditto. I would like to thank everyone who participated in the election. Especially like to thank, however, the management team here at the city. I mean, you know, we ride on your shoulders, and everything that you do that makes the city look good, we get the credit for. And so I'm just so grateful for the city manager, city attorney, for the team that you've put together, because the only person we get to hire is our city manager. And we, you know, all the city employees who are sitting in the back of the room that are going to hang around with us until about 11 o'clock tonight, they do the heavy lifting. And like I said, but for them, you know, we could look like we're nuts. But because of them, we all look wonderful. And it's a great opportunity for us to keep the same team together. That's fairly rare. I'm not sure that's happened that I can last remember. So thank you so much for the honor.
Obviously, yes, I'm very fortunate to be able to serve with the same council. Connie calls us her council on a regular, and that kind of sums it up. We're very fortunate to be able to work together, to bring different perspectives, and come to a consensus that moves, hopefully, everybody in the city forward. That's our number one goal. I would specifically like to thank all the people who helped me, not just during campaign season, all the time. There's so many friendly faces everywhere we all go, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. I would like to thank all the people who voted. I would like to thank the people at the Board of Elections. They have a very challenging job, and they work for a month long, and they make sure that we have equal and fair opportunities for everybody to vote. So I really want to thank those folks for doing their right to support our Constitution for the state and for the country. And then just overall, tremendous thank you to Connie, Jim, Graham, all the staff people that I could list, but like David said, we're going to be here forever anyway. So, but thank you all for always sticking in there with us, for your support of us, keeping us on track, and the opportunity to just keep doing the good work, and for everybody who continues to give us the input from the community. We're nothing without that. So thank you again for this honor and privilege.
I ditto everybody, what everybody said up till now. I was thinking today, all day, the phrase we've been using in the city is "be the difference." And I know cities are prone. I'm noticing other cities, they'll come up with a really cool, motto or marketing or branding. But that word "difference" is an interesting word. It literally means to be set apart. If you look at it etymologically, it means to be set apart. And I'm honored and grateful and thankful, and I feel fortunate to be able to serve this community capacity that I'm in, because I feel like we have a blessed city. I know we have our challenges. I know we got history here. I know we got a lot of things ahead of us that we are going to have to tackle together as a team. But the power of the team, the power of and giftedness of people that serve this community, that serve this city, the staff, city manager, city attorney, council, mayor. There are people here who have a true and authentic heart for this city and give and pour out for this community. So I'm just grateful for this. I'm thankful for everybody. And lastly, but not important, I want to thank my wife, Tony. I want to thank my grandkids. My granddaughters are here, Jalen and Jalea. They are with me day in and day out. They've been with me on this journey for the last 2 years, my wife specifically more, every day. And so I appreciate her support. I'm glad to have my children here. I'm always bouncing things off of them. And good to see my good brother Jaleel here, who's been a support as well. And I thank y'all for your support. And for community, thank y'all for putting your confidence in all of us here. And God bless y'all.
Thank you. And so I will wrap it up to say I am very grateful to have the city council members that I've had the opportunity and honor to work with over the last term. And it's exciting what a team can do. And because I didn't have an opponent this time, I campaigned for my team because it was important to me that we could keep doing the good work to make a Salisbury for everyone and focus on the needs of a very diverse in so many ways, age and race and ethnicity and so many different things that set us apart, but they also are the very things that bring us together. So it's really my honor tonight to celebrate the fact that the voters came out and they did support this team. I also would like to take a moment to thank my family. My husband, Henry Alexander, doesn't get to see me very much, but he is very patient, and I appreciate that very much. My broader family also, I appreciate your patience and the fact that I'm not always there, but you know I love you and I appreciate your support. And then for the broader community, thank you so much for all of the support that you give me. And you just don't know, sometimes I need that email or that card that you send or flowers that you bring. It's really very heartfelt, but I love serving this community. So with that, we will move on to our meeting. And I will pause here. I might take just a moment of privilege before everyone leaves, because I have an incredible announcement to make today. I just heard this afternoon, right before coming to this meeting, that Senator Thom Tillis announced that we had over $1 billion in infrastructure that's coming to North Carolina for our infrastructure. And what is very exciting is that the Salisbury or Asheville to Salisbury train connection is going to be a reality. It was approved as one of the 7 corridors that are receiving part of that $1 billion, and Salisbury is on that list. So we have a lot to celebrate. That will make a huge difference. This is sort of like planting the tree that some of us won't enjoy the shade of, but it's that important for our community in the long run. So this is the first step, but I did want to share that with everyone who came to support this council. So thank you very much. And now I'll pause for a moment so that anyone who wishes to leave, you can do so. Or if you want to stay until 11 with all of us, you are very welcome. It's like watching paint dry sometimes. So.
You are so welcome.
Bye.
Wanna go?
Should have recognized John,
Well, yes, he was.
because he's a former council member.
Now it's just the work.
Staff has to stay, right? Yeah. Sorry, y'all.
Bye, Chief. I know you've got a lot to do. It's okay. Okay, and so now we're at adoption of the agenda. So do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And now, council to consider the consent agenda. And I will just point out that on B, adopt the 2024 schedule of regular council meeting dates. I'm going to, just for the public's sake, even though council has already seen this before, on February 6th, our meeting is going to start at 4 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. And that is to adjust for the Racial Equity Rowan meeting, which is featuring none other than our own Dee Dee Wright as the featured speaker. And so council members would like to go and be a part of that meeting. And then on August 6th, which is a standard that we've had for several years, we are starting the meeting at 3 p.m. So that all of our council members can go out and enjoy National Night Out to all of the various neighborhoods. And it gives us a chance to do that while the neighborhoods are gathered. So those are the two changes. All the other dates and meetings are still at the same time of 6. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented. We have a motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we're open to receive public comment.
There's no one signed up to speak for public comment.
Okay, then we will move on to item number 4. Council to hold a public hearing and consider adopting a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of multifamily housing revenue bonds for the Ford City Motor Lofts project located at 419 South Main Street. Our presenters are City Attorney Graham Coyer and Attorney Kristen Kirby.
Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Mayor, sorry, I was in a mock trial all day long today.
I'm okay.
You are the honorable. Let me switch gears here. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Hannah and I discussed this before. Hers is the next item on the agenda. This all relates to the same project. We gave you an update on it last time, so we're going to tag team the presentation. My piece will involve a public hearing and authorizing the issuance of bonds. Hannah's piece will involve a letter of intent to support the project in a different way. I want to check and make sure. So when we issue bonds, and I'll explain a little more about our bond issuance in a minute, we have to have bond counsel. And so our bond counsel in this case is McGuire Woods Law Firm. Kristen Kirby should be joining by Zoom. Is Kristen here?
Yes, sir, she is.
Kristen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. And she's here to answer any questions that you might have about it. She is the city's attorney on this. I am as well, but she's bond counsel for the city on this, even though she's hired by the developer, so the city doesn't pay any of the legal fees for her services, but her ethical obligations are to the city, and she represents the city, and she'll handle the paperwork for the bond issuance along with me, and I've been working with her up until this point. And so just as a reminder, going back to the update from last meeting, this was related to the Ford Motor City Lofts project. I've taken the exact presentation that you had last time, just as a reminder that we gave you this before. It came as an update with no action requested. It's coming back tonight for, again, a public hearing and to authorize what we asked for last time, which was an issuance of bonds in this case. The history on this, as a reminder, goes back to December of 2021. This project came to us. The developers asked the cities to help participate, and the request was to participate by being a conduit issuer of bonds. What that means is that the city serves as the issuer of the bonds, but the city is not obligated to repay the bonds. And so all of the bond repayment would come from the developer. The city participates in this by going through this process. This is authorized by statute. It's kind of a strange concept, and I had those questions initially. I said, just hold on a second, we're issuing bonds, what's our obligation, what's our liability? I've asked all those questions, and you can ask them again tonight, and Kristen's here to help, but we've had this conversation in the past. Again, there's no obligation of the city to repay these bonds, there's no liability on the city. If the project doesn't happen, there's no debt that goes on the city's books that would affect our credit rating or anything in that way. So this is just a way for the city to support this project, which provides low-income housing for seniors. And we can do that by issuing these bonds. These bonds would be tax exempt because the city is the issuer, and the developer can use that money to build this project that the city would support. The bonds that we will be issuing is up to $9.5 million. Okay, so Hannah, can you move forward? Again, we had this update last time. I'm happy to answer any questions about the project itself. But the request tonight is to hold a public hearing first and then to adopt a resolution that authorizes the issuance of these bonds. Do I have any questions from council about this? I might have to ask Kristen to help me answer those. But
Anyone have a question? I think we were very clearly.
yeah, this is a great project. I mean, we've been excited about it all along. The council's been very supportive. Planning staff has worked with the developer to make sure. We've gone through HPC approval long ago. So,
Well, it's kind of a win-win situation because if we have no legal obligation to repay it, but it helps them with their financing package, then it's really a good deal for our city and for our citizens, more importantly, because they will be the ones who will get to enjoy. And we have a need, a stated need for senior housing in our community. So thank you for all the work, and thank you, Hannah and Kristen. Thank you so much for being a part of the team. So with that, Hannah, are you presenting?
do you have anything?
I'll present Part B of this, if that, we can go back, and if council wants any reminders of what the project entails, all the details are exactly the same as what we presented last time. The project, again, is 419 South Main Street, historic rehabilitation of the former Ford dealership, hence the name Ford City Motor Lofts. As Graham mentioned, it's going to provide 64 units of affordable housing for our seniors. And it's a project that really checks a lot of boxes for us in terms of our goals for corridor rehabilitation, housing, historic preservation. So it's an exciting project, and as you all have been talking about, the bonds are one way to support, and I'll talk about a second way we can support it after the public hearing.
So at this time, we will
Public hearing.
open a public hearing, and anyone who wants to come and speak in support of or in opposition to this project, please come forward at this time. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and then return it to council to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of multifamily housing revenue bonds for the Ford City Motor Lofts project. So we have a motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And now for number 5, the council is to consider endorsing a letter committing $200,000 in community development block grant funds in support of the Ford City Motor Lofts project located at 419 South Main Street. And our presenter this evening is Planning and Neighborhoods Director Hannah Jacobson. Hannah.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of council. As we were just talking about, the project has many benefits. As the project team has been working to make it happen, financial gap has emerged. This is not uncommon. So there has been a request by the development team to support the project financially. And we're looking towards our community development block grant funds. These are federal funds that are allocated annually to the city to help to support this. Our recommendation is that we provide a letter of intent to commit $200,000 of our community development block grant funding to this project. This would be future year funds that would not necessarily limit our ability to carry out the programs that we currently do. So we think that this is an eligible and a wise use of our funding. We estimate that with 64 units, this $200,000 would be a subsidy of just over $3,000 per unit. We would look to do this on a reimbursement basis. So should the project, for some unfortunate reason, not proceed, we will still have those funds to reallocate to other community development projects. So again, our recommendation and ask of you tonight is to consider endorsing this letter of intent.
Okay. So do I hear
I think this is a fabulous use of CDBG funds. It's one of the best I've seen.
do you want to make that
Yeah.
a motion?
I'll make a motion to endorse a letter committing $200,000 in community development block grant funds in support of the Ward City Motor Loft Project.
Thank you, David. We have a motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Hannah and Graham. That's a very exciting project. I'm so glad to see it moving along. So now we're at number 6, council to consider adopting an ordinance to amend the land development district map of the city of Salisbury to rezone one parcel, approximately .668 acres, located along the intersection of East Council and North Schaefer Streets from corridor mixed use and residential mixed use with a conditional district overlay to residential mixed use with a conditional district overlay to request an exception to the land development ordinance requirements for an alternate design. And our presenter this evening is Senior Planner Victoria Bailiff. Welcome.
Mayor, good evening, council members. Tonight we have rezoning petition CD 04-2023. Shelter Ministries of Rowan County has petitioned for one property located on the northern corner at the intersection of East Council and North Shaver Street to be rezoned. As the mayor stated, this parcel is currently split zone between residential mixed use RMX and corridor mixed use CMX with a conditional district overlay. The applicant is requesting that it be rezoned to just residential mixed use with a conditional district overlay. The property is currently within the city limits. There are properties zoned CMX to the northeast and west, with UR8 properties to the east, CI to the south, and RMX property to the west. There are adjacent properties that are commercial in nature surrounding the lot, with some undeveloped properties to the east and west, and residential to the west. The site currently has some existing vegetation in place and slopes upward towards East Council Street. It is not affected by blue line stream, wetlands, or 100-year floodplain. This is the master plan accompanying the rezoning request, which proposes a campus-style residential development comprised of 5 duplexes with 10 units total. This is the landscaping plan that has been provided. The developer is making 3 alternative design requests. The first alternative is to section 5.18, which requests that the front setback be reduced from 10 to 5 feet, the side setback be reduced from 20% to 9% of the lot width, and the rear setback reduced from 25 feet to 5 feet. The second alternative design request is to section 10.3, which is requesting a parking reduction from 12 spaces to 4 ADA spaces. And the final alternative request is from section 10.6, which requests that no parking lot connection to the adjacent lots be required. These are the elevations of the duplexes that have been provided, and the applicant has also provided some renderings. The future land use map has this property designated for traditional neighborhood. And with the conditional district overlay in place, staff believes that the plan matches up with the characteristics of the traditional neighborhood place type. Staff finds that the requested rezoning is consistent with the Forward 2040 policies 5.12.2, which recommends supporting the efforts to provide workforce training, access to transportation, access to affordable childcare, financial literacy counseling, and other strategies to help low-income residents reach self-sufficiency and secure affordable housing, as well as Policy 5.2.2, which encourages the development of accessible housing for residents with disabilities, particularly near transit stops and activity centers. And finally, Policy 5.2.3, which recommends using small-scale multifamily dwellings, such as townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, or quadruplexes, to transition to more intense commercial or mixed-use areas from existing residential neighborhoods. The master plan was reviewed by the city's Technical Review Committee on October 19th, 2023. The TRC recommended approval of the master plan subject to minor revisions which were satisfied upon resubmittal. The Planning Board held its courtesy hearing on November 14th, 2023. The board voted unanimously to recommend approval as submitted, with a motion stating that the map amendment is consistent with the Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Are there any questions from council before we go into public hearing?
Any questions?
Did anyone in the public address any concerns about the zoning?
The only speakers for this one we had were the applicants.
I do have one quick question. The conditional district overlay, is that still needed with the zoning because of those three design alternatives? Is that why?
For several reasons, actually. It's already within a conditional district, which is strange. But it's also, they're doing the design alternative request, and it's campus-style development, which always requires a conditional district.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So the campus style is because there are buildings behind the ones that face the street, because that looks really like residential and almost like the ones that are up on the corner.
Campus-style development is when you have multiple buildings and there's not really one main building. It's why you see a lot of apartment complexes come before you as conditional district rezonings,
Okay.
because they have those multiple buildings and there's not a primary structure.
And then the other items are because they don't need, I mean, obviously, if this is transitional housing, many of these people don't have a car because they're just getting out of being homeless. So you don't, that's why you're only asking for the 4 handicap.
Yes.
So I understand why you have to do it because it's in the code in those items,
Yes, ma'am.
in those sections. Okay, thank you.
One of the photographs that you, not photographs, but renderings, whatever you call it. Back up one more. Yeah, that one. The parking spaces behind there, which will come off of Shaver Street, is that related to this project?
No, those are existing spaces for the other Ruin Helping Ministries property. Those were not shown on the plans, the master plan, because we wanted to make it clear that those were not a part of this rezoning.
And that was one of the other reasons that you had to do it, the alternative, because there's no connection, and we normally ask for connections to the next parking lot.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's the parking lot they were talking about, the one shown that David was pointing out. Okay, I understand it, because I was confused a little bit with the rendering.
Yeah,
It looked like it was part of it.
there's a grade change between those parking lots that makes it difficult to connect.
To get, okay.
Are these places designated for permanent, or is it something temporary where after 6 months, or they get to a certain situation?
That would be something that the applicant can probably answer better for you. They are here tonight.
They're here. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to come forward and, yes, and help us? Because these are important questions. Thank you. Thank you, Keena.
So they are for permanent supportive housing. So it is for folks that are homeless, and often serving those who are chronically homeless because they'll need wraparound services. So it is not transitional in nature where it's 16 to 18 months, 6 months to 18 months. It could be until they are completely stable and are able to move on. And we already operate 3 permanent supportive houses on our property. They're right above the ones that we're planning to build. And we've had folks who have moved on and into other permanent housing, but we've had folks who've been in permanent supportive who were there until they passed away.
So there's no time limit on it. Okay.
Back to the parking question. Seems that if you have 10 homeowners there, not homeowners, but dwelling units, you could have somebody that has some kind of a vehicle. Will they be permitted, if necessary, to park in that area behind it?
Yes, we would allow them, they could park in our parking lot behind that or our street parking.
And if that happens, is there going to, I mean, right now it looks like you'd have to walk through grass or whatever.
There's a sidewalk that currently goes around.
There
The
is a
property.
sidewalk along, I believe
Schaefer
it's Shaver.
and
Yeah.
council. Well, and council has a sidewalk.
That would be a hefty walk in the rain. And my other question is, it looks like, are those solar panels?
So yes, we are trying to do solar where it's able, we're able to.
Mm-hmm. Any clues to how much of the energy needs of those units that would cover?
Do not know that. We try to put solar panels on all our buildings to you have the best use of our donors' money.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. So now we need to hold a public hearing. So if there are no other questions from council right now, I'll open the public hearing. And if there is anyone here that would like to speak in favor or in opposition, please come forward now to speak in favor of it.
So do I need to say my name? I'm Keena Grubb. I live at 205 Bethel Drive, and I'm Executive Director of Rowan Helping Ministries. And this particular project to support permanent supportive housing was identified in 2018 as part of our strategic plan, because at that time we had 18 individuals in Rowan County who qualified for permanent supportive housing based on the state standards of qualifying people for that service and housing opportunity. During that year, as part of a 5-county continuum of care, only 2 individuals were placed in permanent supportive housing because that was all that was available, none from Rowan County. And by doing a project-based permanent supportive housing campus, we are able to better address that list of people who qualify for permanent supportive housing, but also give first preference to Rowan County residents who are homeless. And so I appreciate the city's support in helping us move forward with this.
And this will be 10 units.
Correct.
So it can hold families.
So 2 of the units are 2-bedroom units and could hold families.
Okay. Very good. That's important.
Thank you.
And that adds to what you're doing with the VA on the other side.
And we would hold 2 of these units specifically for veterans. And currently, of the 3 houses that we have in permanent supportive program, 1 is held for veteran families.
I don't know is there an estimate when you plan to have it completed?
I want it completed already.
Yeah.
So we hope, once with this approval, that we can finish the plans that Elizabeth is working on and get that out to bid by the end of the year, get those bids in, and start construction by spring. So as quickly as then, I always think we can build it faster than we can.
So probably another year,
Another year.
2025.
Yep.
But very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kina while she's here? Okay. Anyone else want to come and speak in favor or in opposition of this project? If not, I'll close the public hearing and turn it back to council for a decision.
I'll make a motion if we're ready for that. Go for it.
Go for it, okay. All right. Yeah, I know. The city council hereby finds and determines that adoption of an ordinance to rezone the properties described herein is reasonable and in the public interest. The proposal is fundamentally consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Therefore, I make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the land development district map of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina, rezoning 0 East Council Street, approximately 0.668 acres, tax map 010, parcel 411, from corridor mixed use and residential mixed use with a conditional district overlay to residential mixed use with a conditional district overlay.
It's a mouthful. Thank you, Anthony. We have a motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Victoria.
Thanks, Victoria.
So now we're at item number 7. Council to consider closing an unimproved portion of Second Street located off the 100 block of Carolina Boulevard. And our presenter is Transportation Director Wendy Brindle. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. About a month ago, came before Council and you adopted a resolution of intent to close this unimproved portion of Second Street. Just to orient you, it is what's shown in red here. This is Carolina Boulevard. This is the 100 block in this area. Jake Alexander Boulevard is along the bottom of the picture, and if you would continue in this direction, you would come to Ennis Street. So this portion of right-of-way is unimproved. The petitioner is the owner of the parcel both to the right and the left. This parcel is owned by a homeowner. All permanent closings must follow General Statute 168-299, and this the site was posted for 4 consecutive weeks, advertised in the newspaper for 4 consecutive weeks, and then anyone touching the portion to be closed was notified by certified mail. Council can permanently close the right-of-way if they find that it's not contrary to public interest and no one is deprived of reasonable means of ingress or egress to their property. That is the case. If I go back, you can see these homes are accessed by Billy Hope Drive. The other properties have access either from Jake Alexander or Carolina Boulevard. So it's a little hard to see in this drawing, and I apologize for that, but there is a public sanitary sewer line that runs down the right-of-way. So when the order is adopted, and it should be in your action items that you have, it would be subject to a 30-foot permanent easement for that sanitary sewer line. So if there are no other questions, you would hold a public hearing, and then you could make two actions, adopt the resolution accepting the street right-of-way and then adopting an order to close the street. And again, that would be subject to a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement.
So with the easement going through, what is the advantage to the property owners?
So originally, the property owner did want to subdivide. They will not be able to do that with the easement because you can't build a structure on top of it. However, it's a 40-foot right-of-way. What they're planning to do, and again, I apologize, this is a little small, this whole right-of-way, because he owns on both sides, he's giving that to the larger parcel. The line where my cursor is a blue line stream. There are development restrictions next to that. You have to be 30 feet off the top of the bank. So by gaining the extra footage, even with the sanitary sewer line, will give him a little bit larger envelope for a single-family residential home. It'll also change his setbacks from the side as well. So
So it essentially gives him a larger lot.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Even with the permanent easement. And so that's registered with our water sewer utility?
Yeah, once this is closed, and this map doesn't show the easement, it has been requested and it's forthcoming. It won't be recorded until the easement's shown. But with that and the order, it will establish that permanent easement around the sewer line. And I'll also point out the property owner that's not the petitioner is by statute receiving their half of the right-of-way as well.
But it still has the same easement on it?
Correct, yes. It's centered.
15 feet?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Is
Okay.
the current owner of the property right now is the city?
No, the owner is Maxon Developers.
I don't see the name.
Oh, you're talking about for the right-of-way? It's
The right-of-way, is that,
So it's a public right-of-way.
do the property lines, for example, parcel 71-174, which is to the right on the photograph here, is that person owns half of that right-of-way, is that correct?
So right now, no one owns the right-of-way. Once it's closed, by state statute, it is split down the middle.
Right.
Because the petitioner owns on both sides,
Oh, okay.
he is deciding which parcel his right-of-way goes to.
And the house, the 71B043, they'll own half of it as well.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so then my next question is, if you keep heading down, I don't know if that's south or what, but that right-of-way continues all the way to Jake, is there a reason to continue that as opposed to not close it also?
The petitioner had the option to ask for the closure.
Oh, does he also own?
He does not own the large parcel.
Okay.
And I don't know if he had conversation, but it was not requested with this petition to close any further.
So the
But
owner of the,
someone could in the future.
In the future, they could. And if someone wanted to, I mean, with the public right-of-way there, it also gives someone the ability to construct a public street potentially to serve a parcel as well, so.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
We need to hold a.
Oh, we're going to do a public hearing next, okay? So I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to come in support of or in opposition to this request? Seeing none, close the public hearing and turn it back to council.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution pertaining to the closing of an unimproved portion of Second Street located off the 100 block of Carolina Boulevard.
Okay, we have a motion. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, there needs to be two motions.
Okay,
I was gonna
yes.
do the next one.
All right.
I was going to make a motion to adopt an order closing an unimproved portion of Second Street.
Yes, and if we could add subject to a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement, I think that would make things a little bit
Subject to a
cleaner.
30-foot sanitary.
Thank
easement.
you.
Repeat after me.
All right, Connie, do you have that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Wendy. Now, moving right on to number 8, council to receive the June 30th, 2023 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report from auditors Martin Starnes, CPAs. And our presenters this evening are Wade Furchess and Auditor Elsa Swinson. Welcome.
Mayor, members of council, if I could kick this off before our auditor and finance director begin. This is an important presentation. You all know that in May and June, we present our budget and discuss our budget for the coming year. And tonight, we have our external auditor with us who has been reviewing our finances as required by law. She's here tonight to present. I've asked Wade to kick this off, but I wanted just to start by thanking Wade Furchess, our finance director. We also have Mark Dreyer, our assistant finance director, in the audience. I'll steal a little of their thunder. You're going to hear a good report tonight, and that's important. Everything that council wants to do, your vision, it starts with finances. And so we are very fortunate to have Wade and Mark and an outstanding budget and finance team that work hard every day to make sure that we're financially strong as a city. So I want to turn it over to Wade, but I just wanted to kick us off by saying thank you to Wade, thank you to Mark and the team. I think you're going to hear some good things tonight. I know you're going to hear some good things. So, Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Green, for those comments. I do think that we have a strong team in our finance department that goes much deeper than Mark and me. Mayor Pro Tem, I want to introduce you to Elsa Swinson. She is our lead auditor from Martin Starnes. And with that, I am going to turn the presentation over to her.
Thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of Martin Starnes and Associates, I'd like to present the City of Salisbury's 2023 audited financial statements. Some audit highlights. I would like to thank Wade Furchess, Mark Dry, the rest of their staff for all their hard work on the audit this year. Anytime we request information, it's given to us accurately, timely. We do appreciate that working relationship and hope to continue that moving forward. The city received an unmodified opinion. This is a clean audit opinion. Looking at your general fund, revenues for the year were $49.9 million, an increase of about 6%. Expenditures were $43.4 million, an increase of about 12%, and I will detail these further along in the presentation. Fund balance for the general fund was $35.7 million. You had non-spendable items of $855,000. You had stabilization by state statute of $6.2 million. This gives you an available fund balance calculation of $28.5 million, an increase in your available fund balance of $8.1 million. And I would like to mention that the increase is due to the transfer of the ARPA funds of about 5.6 million to the general fund and supplanting of police and fire salaries. Available fund balance is a percent of expenditures and transfers to other funds. For the general fund was 61.05%. Property taxes were 24.2 million, an increase of about 4%. Unrestricted intergovernmental revenues, which are primarily your sales tax revenues, were 15.7 million, an increase of about 7%. These sales taxes do continue to increase. Public safety was 19.9 million, an increase of about 12%. Public safety is your largest expense. Increase is due to pay study and purchase of a fire truck. Looking at your enterprise funds, for 2023, your water and sewer unrestricted net position was 48.9 million. Broadband was negative 2.4 million. Stormwater, 3.1 million. Transit, 407,000. Your change in net position was for water and sewer was 7.1 million. Broadband, just over 2 million. Stormwater, 605,000, and transit, 62,000. And I would like to mention that even though the broadband unrestricted net position is negative, the overall net position is positive for the first time of 1.4 million. Looking at your quick ratio for water and sewer, that was 7.31 this year. The LGC would be concerned if this were less than 1. Operating income performance for water and sewer, you had operating income of 5.9 million. You add back your depreciation of just over 5 million and less your principal debt service of 3.3 million. This gives you an operating income performance of 7.7 million, and the LGC would be concerned if this were negative. There was one performance indicator of concern regarding the water and sewer condition of assets. The remaining useful life of assets is 0.5 for water and sewer, and this is due to the need for continued investment in assets and infrastructure. And as Wade would like me to mention, Bill Rivenbark mentioned this in the 2023 council retreat. This performance indicator is required to, you guys are required to provide a letter to the LGC within 60 days of today's audit presentation. And this does conclude my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions?
I have a couple. Can you back up a little bit? Okay, that's one of my questions. Why'd the operating income of water sewer drop from 8.2 to 5.9 million?
I can take a look at your statements.
I think that's basically has to do with, in the water and sewer fund, if you look at our expenses in the maintenance and construction line items, went up by about $2 million. But that's because we're repairing our systems, we're investing in the infrastructure. Even though those aren't capital items, it still fits in the system and making investments. And so that'll bring the total operating income down.
So those are what you would call non-recurring items?
Yes.
I mean, relative to where they had been in prior years. I mean, I know we have maintenance, repairs every year, but what I'm hearing is you had some non-recurring maintenance this year compared to what the average had been in the prior years.
Yes. We did contract out a good portion of this year, but it is improving our infrastructure, although it's not larger capital items. They all kind of combined to make up about $2 million extra in that line item.
Got it. Yeah, no, I'm all in maintaining infrastructure. You made a comment about, could you back up another slide? It's probably that slide there, but now that one, yeah, that's well above 1. I get that one. It's easy. The broadband. To go back to water sewer, I think water sewer, this is something you said that wasn't on a slide. You said that the undepreciated portion of those assets, which is, I think, about 125 million or something, like 200, I mean, it's an enormous number, was about 0.5, which means 50%, right? And basically, the LGC likes to see at least more than, to have undepreciated be over 50%. Is that what you're saying? So what's happening is that as your depreciation charges, y'all have heard me talk about for the last 8-9 years, one of the things you want to do is make sure you reinvest those dollars to maintain your capital infrastructure, right? And so we're getting down to right at or just below 50%. So that's telling us that that we've got some capital expenses in front of us. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay.
One point I'd like to make, when Dr. Rivenbark gave his presentation last year, he zeroed in on that particular item. And at the time, the ratio was 0.43 or 43%. But we just completed $36 million of investments in our water sewer from our 2020 revenue bonds. So that helped us bump it from 43 to, it's just ever so slightly below 50%. On the actual data collection, it looks like it's 0.5, but if you round it out to some decimal points, it's 0.49 something. And so we have made investments. I don't know if you remember in the budget for FY24, we approved an additional $6.4 million of use of fund balance to go for projects. So we are making investments.
That's water sewer fund balance, not the general.
That's water sewer, yes.
Didn't mean to interrupt you there. Just wanted to be clear. Can you remind me what our total investment in capital infrastructure water sewer is? I know and what the accumulated depreciation is. Was like 200 million and 100 million, something like that. I should look it up, but you can find it more quickly than I can.
The net investment in capital assets is about 90 million in water sewer fund.
And so it's got about 45 million in accumulated depreciation.
45 million and 48 million unrestricted.
Okay. And then I have questions about the broadband. For one, it showed that 3.1 million in 2022 and 2.4 million, that's the amount that the general fund had to subsidize the broadband to help cover the mortgage payments.
No, that's, again, in the presentation of net position, we have to break out first the net investment in capital assets. So that's about 4 million in broadband, and that's capital assets above and beyond outstanding debt. So that's 3.9 million there, $100,000. That might be what you're thinking about. So we still owe the water sewer fund $5 million-ish.
Okay. I have one other silly question, then I'll let go.
$5.3 million. So
we'll get there. And on page 172, I have, in 173, I have two questions. One is, last year we had some deficiencies which are really related to the fact that broadband was underwater. Is that the reason that's not a deficiency this year?
The positive net position
Okay.
is the reason that finding was corrected.
And on page 172, there's this thing that says that the summary of the report, it says the auditee qualified as a low-risk auditee, and the answer is no. And is that referring to Salisbury or to the rural transformation grant?
It's referring to Salisbury, and there's several factors in that. It can be based on prior year findings and also whether or not you're a federal single audit. So that's based on the prior 2 years' information.
So if we have another year like this one, for example, that might become a yes.
That could,
Possible.
that's possible.
Okay, so basically the issue was the fact that we had those so-called deficiencies last year, which were, as we said, broadband related. Is that correct?
I believe so. There may have been, maybe a couple years ago, were there another finding? I could get that
We've
information
had
for you.
deficiencies every year, and it's usually 2 or 3, and
Okay.
that's what I tend to ask
Sure.
the same questions every year. And that's really cool to see on 173 that we have no significant deficiencies, and I presume that if we can maintain that for a couple of years, then we're no longer, we would then become a low-risk auditee,
Correct.
which is where you want to be.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, thanks.
So maybe
Sorry to
3
dig into the
years
weeds.
From now.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Oh,
And
that's really exciting.
Sure. And it does depend on being federal single audit as well. That has to be consistent for that designation to be low risk.
So,
Sorry I dug into the weeds. I'm
no,
sorry about
that's,
that.
no, that's good. Anybody else have a question? If not, I do. With the grant that we're getting with water sewer, that is, the 32 million to do our new intake facility, will that help, sort of fill the gap of where we're sort of underwater a little bit with our infrastructure?
Yeah, so we'll use that grant along with Cube's money to relocate the intake. And so when that project's done, that project will be capitalized. And yes, that will help. Any project like that will help that ratio.
Well over the 0.5 at that point.
Well, and keep in mind, every year we add depreciation. So in my mind, each year, in order to get that to over 50%, we need to invest more than our depreciation level. That's what's going to turn that formula over 50%.
Every year it's getting older.
Yes. And like I said, we budgeted 6.4 million in fund balance on top of what the regular budget would have shown. And that's for infrastructure type projects. So if we invest that money in this, the investment's more than our depreciation, that'll help turn that ratio around a little bit.
Okay. So we're going in the right
We're
direction.
going in the right direction, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I would just add, yes, ma'am, we're definitely going in the right direction. You'll remember last year during the budget process, we had Mr. Beamer present on the capital improvements plan for SRU as well. It's an aggressive plan. We're putting additional money into it, as Wade said, from fund balance, and we're going to continue to invest in our water and sewer infrastructure. It's a critical asset, not just for the city of Salisbury, but for our entire community, 53,000 plus customers. So we'll continue to invest and make sure we have a strong infrastructure in our water and sewer.
So is that also a reason for us to be sure that we are keeping up with the balance of what we're charging customers versus what it's costing?
Absolutely.
And what we need to do infrastructure-wise? So that is something that we'll have to deal with again.
It is, and that's something we look at each year. And you'll remember last year, we recommended no rate increase for this year for our utility customers, but we said we wanted to look at our rate model and look at our capital projects and bring that back to you with some recommendations for this year. So it's not sustainable to not have increases with the infrastructure needs that we have, but we wanted to base it on a rate model, and we've hired an outside firm to help us with that as well. So we hope to bring that back to you sometime early spring.
Thank you.
And Elsa, thank you for helping our team out. And Wade, if you could just give us one sentence, how'd we do? How'd we do?
I think we're good.
All right.
We're good.
We have strong fund balance, and we far exceeded our 25% minimum floor threshold on the general fund balance. If you look at water sewer, we have about a year's worth of fund balance on hand. But water sewer is a little different. It's an enterprise fund. We need to put money into infrastructure, which is what we're doing. We've got a 10-year CIP that has about $148 million worth of projects. So,
Did all right?
yeah.
All right.
I think we did good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now we're at number 9, council to consider approval of a right-of-way use permit for the use of 4 marked parking spaces on Main Street until March 22, 2024, and the intermittent use of Hogan's Alley until January 5th, 2024, for construction taking place at 119 and 121 North Main Street per section 22-50 of the City Code. Our presenter this evening is Transportation Director Wendy Brendel. Thank you, Wendy.
Good evening again. We have a section in our code, 2250, that allows property and business owners in downtown to request use of right-of-way during construction and renovation projects, since there's limited space for parking of construction vehicles, staging, and so forth. So we have a request like that before us this evening. In accordance with Section 2250, staff can actually issue some of these permits for up to 2 weeks. Anything over 2 weeks or anything blocking sidewalk, roadways, things of that sort require council approval. So the reason we're bringing this particular request to you is because it's longer than the 2-week period, and it will be using a pedestrian alley as well. So what you see in front of you summarizes the request for on-street and in the alley. So the properties are these 2, and the 4 spaces on Main Street are highlighted in red. One thing Section 2250 requires is that you utilize the spaces directly in front of your building. If you need additional spaces, you have to have approval in writing from those businesses that it would be directly impacting. So in this case, the 4 spaces are directly in front of 119 and 121. Again, the contractor has already begun work. We've been keeping an eye on the spaces. The types of vehicles that are allowed to stay here over the 2-hour limit would be those vehicles being actively used for construction. So someone can't park their vehicle there and go in with no equipment and just paint all day. They have to be actively getting things off of their vehicle. And so far, have not noticed that these have been abused at all. So the request is to extend this use of these 4 spaces through March 22nd of 2024, when they anticipate construction to be complete. So that's the first request. The second request has to do with Hogan's Alley, and I've included the picture here so you can see the wall to the right in the picture will be receiving windows. He said openings. I did not look at the plans to see if there's a doorway as well, but I know there's windows being added to the wall. There's going to be residential upstairs and commercial use downstairs. And so openings in the wall will be added. They've already started work from the inside of the building to help limit impact to the alley, but they are to the point where they need to access the alley and the brick to remove that brick and get the openings in. And what they are proposing is to work from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. beginning tomorrow, and that will reduce impact because businesses open at 10. They'll also have a spotter available, so if a pedestrian would need to access the alley while they're working with a lift, they could stop work and let the pedestrian safely pass. They will also be, and we've met on site with the owner, it will be their responsibility to relocate the planters to the other side of the alley during construction. And then also the amenities, you can see the trash can here, and there's a bench on the other end. They'll take those and store them inside their building until they're finished with use of the lift, and then they will replace those. So that work, they anticipate it to be complete before January 5th, but because of, potential unforeseen circumstances are requesting through January 5th. And finally, the last request is in the rear of the building. So the building goes back and stops, and then there's a little section, you can see it in this picture, it's closed, that connects this building to this one. The property line actually runs to the edge of this brick building. So the petitioner owns the property back to that portion. It's big enough to park a car, not quite big enough to get the dump trailer, but about the size of the dump trailer. So it'll be parked mostly on private property with minimal intrusion into the alley. I took this yesterday, so this is the dump trailer that's being used. This is looking from the alley. This is looking, towards the alley, so you can see the impact. This is being moved in every morning. The truck to move it is being parked off-site, and then the trailer's being removed every day. And so that would be part of the approval, that it's removed every day. That would be throughout the construction of the project through March as well. And so that is the request from the property owner. So it would be for the 4 marked spaces on North Main Street through March 22nd, 2024, intermittent use of the alley for the installation of the windows through January 5th, and then the location of the small dump trailer on private property with the minimal intrusion into the alley through March as well. Any questions?
So the trailer is removed at the end of the day and then brought back in the morning?
Yes, and it has not been out there every day, so they're only using it on days they need to. We also notified the adjacent businesses that are located off the parking lot there. I did receive a response from one of them that thanked us for the update. So.
Okay.
And I know, I had a few questions that I'd asked previously about, they already have limited length of approval for these 4 spaces. And I also talked to our Downtown Development Director, Seda, as well, about, we understand it's small businesses, it's December, whatever, but so far that these 2 teams have already been monitoring the developer's activity, and it's not being abused. It is visible actually from our business center right across the street, so there are eyes watching that. So far the developers have done what they've said, from what I've understood. The use of Hogan's Alley in the morning, I don't see that being an issue. If I understand, just from knowing about the project a little bit, that the windows were discovered when they were working on the inside, so they're trying to get the building back to more original, which is good use of that space. So again, I asked a ton of questions. I know we had issues before with some of the neighbors with prior use of that back alley. Looked like that got worked out. This is a different space that we're talking about this time around. So for me, I had all my questions answered as far as being able to support this.
And I also, I think the fact that you all have been observing and there hasn't been any abuse of those spaces, people staying there beyond when they're unloading or taking, especially during the Christmas season, we were very concerned because we have a lot of small businesses around that area. So as long as they continue to be responsible, I think it's great, and it's exciting to see this, another building downtown being made available for commercial and residential. So it's very exciting. And the fact that you have also had no sort of pushback from any of the neighbors that
So far
you've talked to.
Yeah, we've not received any complaints.
So that means they've been responsible as well. So this is very exciting. Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Happy to make a motion. Can I do these as one, Wendy?
I
Or-
think so.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all one.
Great. Motion to approve a right-of-way use permit for the use of 4 marked parking spaces on North Main Street until March 22, 2024. The intermittent use of Hogan's Alley until January 5th, 2024, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. The location of a small dump trailer to be removed at the end of each workday with minimal intrusion into the alley for construction taking place at 119 and 121 North Main Street per section 22-50 of the city code.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I think Sean Campion deserves a lot of credit for, for making all the neighbors satisfied. The fact that we haven't had blowback is to his credit.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for investing in our city as a couple, Leah and. So, we will move on. Council to receive a presentation regarding the Byrne Criminal Justice Initiative, and our presenters this evening will be Chanel Nestor and her team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here this evening. It's been a while since I've been in front of you all. I've seen some of you individually. And Connie, thank you for your coordination today. If anyone may be in the audience is unfamiliar, my name is Chanel Nestor, project coordinator with the BCJI, Byrne Criminal Justice Innovation Grant. The city of Salisbury was awarded $800,000 towards many different dynamics as far as finding ways to decrease crime over a long period of time by improving the environment in which people live. So we have some new additions, and I'm super happy about that. To my right, this is Gwen Jackson. I will go more into her and her amazing background in just a moment. But I do want to share that Lieutenant Kula Black, who was my project supervisor, has moved on to wonderful opportunities in other areas. And so now Lieutenant Corey Brooks will be the project supervisor moving forward. I think he's present. He may not be anymore. So I will be working with him to be a liaison for this project moving forward. All right. So Gwen Jackson is a Salisbury native, Weston native as well, president and founder of Urbane Environments. She comes with 30 years of experience in community development, community engagement, has worked with the city of Winston-Salem, city of Charlotte, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Davison, North Carolina, and has supported community projects all over as well. She has been brought on to support us as a community consultant. She has a wealth of knowledge as a former employee of Livingstone College, as well as I've mentioned before, a native of the West End neighborhood. And so she's been able to provide some things that I may not have knowledge of. So super excited that she's here, and I'll give her a moment to share anything that she would like to.
Thank you, Chanel, and good evening, council persons, and congratulations on your re-elections. I am, as Chanel said, a resident, a native of Salisbury. I grew up here, went to Monroe Street Elementary School, Knox Junior High School, and then Salisbury High for a few years before my family actually relocated to Gastonia. My father's a minister, so sometimes we moved around like being in the service. But they relocated here years later, and I came back to help care for them in their elderly years. And while I was mostly working in the Charlotte and Atlanta and Winston-Salem, those different municipalities, working within those different municipalities, I always had a yearning to hopefully be involved in the redevelopment and revitalization of my part of Salisbury, which is West End. And so, things just happen serendipitously, and this grant came about. I became familiar with it, and I reached out eventually to Chanel when she was doing her outreach. I told her about my background and my passion and desire to help, revitalize the West End. And eventually down the road, there was an opportunity and a need for someone to serve as a community consultant. And so she made the offer, and I couldn't refuse. And so now I'm here, and I'm very anxious to help all of us achieve success for the West End and really build a sustainable future. So that's my spill.
Thank you. Thank you, Gwen. So as I mentioned before, she brings a wealth of knowledge, very dependable, and someone that holds me accountable as we move forward with this. I'm super excited that she's here, and I ask her all the time, why didn't you apply for this job? Here we are. All right. So just an update for everyone. The grant itself was developed back in March of 2021. The applicant was the City of Salisbury's Police Department, and awardee, City of Salisbury's Police Department. The grant was developed in coordination with our now research partner, Idea Analytics. So they're responsible for writing that grant, and now they're responsible for certain project management aspects of the grant, as well as any research needs that we may have. Moving forward, many of our city leadership was involved as well, including our planning department, parks and recreation as well. And so they've been very supportive moving forward. Community organizations, Rowan Cabarrus Community College, as well as the NAACP President Jamel Black was involved in that initial stage of the grant application, awarded in December of 2021. Throughout early 2022, the majority of data collection was done as far as the surveying of facades within the West End, block data, so from stop sign to stop sign, what do you see, as well as one-on-one surveys with residents as well. So a lot of that was done during the summer of 2022. I was brought on October 31st of 2022. So it has been right over a year for me with being involved in this project. I will say that there was an initial budget that was submitted with the initial proposal. When I was brought on, once having one-on-ones with neighborhood members as well as community members, I found that the budget that was proposed didn't quite match up with the needs of the neighborhood. And so some things were reworked, including making sure to put in a budget for a community consultant, someone that can advise us from their lived experience on how to move forward as well. So many of the things that I will go into in just a moment were things that were readjusted in the budget itself. Throughout this year, most of the time has been spent with community engagement, community outreach, and as well as an action plan development. The plan comes directly out of the community engagement that's been done from February of this year, and still ongoing. We have our last meeting of the year next Thursday at 6:30. But the action plan has been developed throughout this year and submitted in September of this year. And at this current time, I will say that we are still in the review process. And so the Bureau of Justice Assistance has received our current action plan. We have an intermediary, IACP, who advises us on how strong our action plan is, and they feel that our action plan is very strong and has all all feelings that the action plan will be approved and that we will be receiving our funds at the top of the year. So we have a timeline that's a little tight. And many of you might be aware of the youth and family summer grants that we're hoping to release late March. And so I know there's a bit of concern like, oh, you know, we haven't received the funds yet, so we move forward. We've been advised to move forward, and that's why we've chosen to do so. And this is just a reminder of the town halls and community meetings that have been held in 2023. So the first meeting was in February. We had 2 meetings, one in person, one virtual in February. And every month, on the second Thursday of every month between May and December, there has been a community meeting held at Miller Recreation Teen Center. There was one meeting that was held at Hall Gym because of the wonderful renovations that have happened at Miller Teen Rec. Okay, so the part of the grant process and action items that we are at now. When I presented to you all, I guess this is a few months back, I mentioned the ideas that we had. And since then, those ideas have come into fruition, and we are implementing at least one of those ideas. And that's a major part of this, is to release $200,000 of the $800,000 towards new and existing projects and programs that focus on youth and families. And we're hoping that these applications will come from programs, organizations, projects that are already active in Weston. A lot of what I heard initially was that everyone had the solution. So many people had the solution. This is what we should do. This is what we should do. And this is an opportunity for organizations, projects, and programs that have presented, have shared their ideas along the way to be able to get some funding, which will be a short-term injection of funding towards summer programming in the year of 2024. We are hoping to grant up to $20,000 to projects that will be taking place in the summer of 2024. The grant activities would have to take place between May and September of 2024, and all activities would have to take place in the Weston neighborhood. I do want to make sure that we are aware that any Rowan County-based 501c3 can apply. The grant applications that are awarded will be chosen by a resident-led council of individuals or a committee that has volunteered to review these applications, and those individuals have been starting to meet. We're on our 3rd meeting so far. We'll be meeting tomorrow, actually, with this resident-led council. They have been responsible for reviewing the application, making adjustments as well. We will be going over the online platform tomorrow with them to make sure everything is aligned with what we've discussed. And we will be having information sessions as well. So we'll have our first information session next Thursday, December 14th. It'll be held virtually at 10 a.m. And then we'll have another one on Monday, January 8th at 6 p.m. These will be held before the grant is opened. Our goal is that the grant will be open on January 15th and will close on February 16th. Currently, we are working on a memo of understanding with United Way, Salisbury Police Department, and our city attorney. United Way will receive a 10% administrative fee, so right around $20,000, to implement this, utilizing their platform as well as staffing. They have been wonderful to work with. So far, their executive director, Jenny Lee, has taken on an amazing role to support us in this, and has been a wealth of knowledge as well. We have a few priority areas that have been defined: youth and family development, youth and family education, neighborhood safety, youth and community recreation, as well as civic engagement. These priority areas are coming directly out of our very first neighborhood meeting in February. I started to just ask individuals during that town hall, what do you think we should do with these funds? Through the answers that I received, I categorized them. And these are the categories that came up. And these categories have been consistent throughout each meeting that I've met with the neighborhood. Kind of scared to move forward because I feel like there's going to be some questions. I'm going to go into the remaining grant actions. Another major part that I saw was vital for sustainability of the work that has been implemented, especially will be implemented during the last fiscal year of this project, is the need for a unified West End Neighborhood Association. Through my research of projects that have been funded through this grant, what was different in Salisbury's application compared to, for example, a neighborhood in West Philadelphia, they applied jointly with a neighborhood association. So, for example, in West Philadelphia, they applied jointly with Mount Vernon CDC. I noticed this throughout many of the projects. There was a neighborhood group association that partnered with the police department to apply for the funds. I found it strange once I got into this role. I believe that there's been a lot of city engagement and outreach with the West End neighborhood, and I've wondered why there hasn't been a push for self-determination for the neighborhood to have a council, a formal organization that can apply for funding themselves. Why that hadn't been suggested yet. And so the goal is that we will contribute $100,000 towards the development of such organization. I believe that a neighborhood association of this sort can support many of the issues that we're finding as it pertains to especially renters and landlords in the neighborhood. If there's another layer of review for landowners that are moving into the neighborhood, renters that are moving into the neighborhood, I think that it will support many of the things that we're finding that are happening in the West End neighborhood. And so currently we're working on identifying a neighborhood coordinator to support that development. I know that there are many groups that are already existing in West End, and so we want to be able to pull from those neighborhood members that have been very vital with pushing, especially the cohesiveness of West End, and we're hoping that people will come together for an organization forming like this. Moving forward, we are hoping to contribute $50,000 towards neighborhood beautification and community visioning. So we want neighborhood members to be very participate, I don't want to say be very, but participate in the vision of what the neighborhood could look like in the next 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever timeline we want to look at. And so we want to be able to provide them opportunity to envision what West End could look like, the utilization, especially of properties that exist in West End, as well as a beautification project. And so I know that we've spoken about preserving living history that exists in West End, and so we have our opportunity to do a beautification project that represents the living history that exists within West End. As well, one thing that came up in our last meeting that I was present in, we want to contribute some funds towards small business development for West End residents as well. Initially, I was thinking about $51,000 seed grants to support business development. We've since taken that down to 20 grants of $2,500. I know that, I believe that came directly out of that last council meeting. I believe Councilmember Post brought it up, that what if someone had a lawn care business and needed more expensive equipment and things of that nature. And so this is still in flux. We are currently seeking a partnership with Rowan Cabarrus Community College, which is a small business center, to help us with serving as a fiscal agent for this, as well as providing business education to the wider community, as well as individuals seeking grants. Crime intervention and neighborhood training. Currently, we have $15,000 to provide neighborhood crime intervention training. And so we are currently working to identify a training program to implement that. And next is security technology. A major point of discussion has been putting more cameras in the neighborhood, as well as lighting in the neighborhood. We are currently identifying camera locations. We went over how much it would cost to place a camera in the neighborhood. And so once we figure out the locations, we'd have a final cost. We have met with the transportation department, as well as with the city manager, to start a lighting pilot in the West End. We are hoping to change lights in certain areas of West End and have community engagement and outreach about those lights. And there's the possibility of upgrading the entire neighborhood with LED lights. We might, if you have some questions about that, I might have to bring Wendy up to discuss some of those things from transportation. But we are working towards that as well. And Gwen, do you have anything that I may have missed that you want to add? No? All right. I do want to, of course, share my contact information, especially for anyone in the audience, if you'd like to contact me about anything you've heard today, and I'm ready to take questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, grant funding, this will be up front, right? Because I know sometimes there's reimbursement grants where we ask community groups or nonprofits to make their own investment out of their own resources. But we're dealing with a lot of groups and community groups that don't have those kind of resources. Will these seed monies, will these grants be up front?
Yes, they will be up front.
Any other questions?
There is opportunity for non-501c3 organizations to receive funds with a fiduciary partner that has a 501c3. So Chanel mentioned 501c3 organizations, but also organizations that don't currently have that status with the fiduciary agent can apply for the grants. And they are up to $20,000, not there's 20,000. It may be less than 20,000, but and it won't be reimbursable. They'll receive the funds as long as they can prove in the grant application that they can expend those funds in that amount of time.
And I'm also intrigued by the idea of the neighborhood association. In particular, providing a level of review. I'm interested in what that would look like. Because one of the things that I know we've had conversations with others in the West End is a concern around neighborhood integrity, history, maintaining of culture, community, in relationship to development, and to be pointed, gentrification. And so I could see how this could be a very powerful process to have in the West End, to have some kind of association to help bring some level of review about who's coming in.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add, we will want to try to keep as much as this funding there to define by that neighborhood association. And we are looking for external funding to support a coordinator to come on board to get this thing going, as well as some training There's an organization that I'm looking at out of Winston-Salem called Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods that provides training on starting a neighborhood association. And so I'm looking at training coming from that organization, and I would seek external funding outside of the grant to support that initial development, and then the $100,000 will still be committed to the individuals that serve on that neighborhood association.
Just quick, if you don't mind, Janelle, can you go back to the page before you? So on the the youth programs, I think that's the shining star of this, right? The people who can qualify, it wouldn't necessarily, it could be an existing, can it be somebody new who's wanting to get started?
It can be new or existing programs. We have a question pertaining to that in the application. I kind of wish I had that for review for you all today, but feel free to jump into those information sessions as well. But yes, new or existing programs can apply.
Okay, great. I mean, to me, I think this is the shining star of this. The other stuff's great, but I think getting these youth programs even more up and running and the funding to do them, right? That's, a lot of people are doing a lot of good work, but the funding is so impossible, and this is a great opportunity. So thank you for your work on this.
Sure, I appreciate it, and I do want to reiterate the fact that it's youth and family. This has come directly out of the neighborhood, that we have to deal with the whole family and not just the youth that exists in the neighborhood. And so not individuals, but organizations or programs can apply to support adults as well. It could be, for an example, right? Maybe GED classes during the summer, or Dress to Impress, or, just giving examples, right? We want to be able to support the overall development of families in the West End neighborhood.
Great, thanks.
So did you say, Chanel, that these funds would be available to organizations that serve across all of Rowan County, or they have to be organizations within West End?
So any organization that operates within the county can apply, as long as their grant activities take place in the West End neighborhood. We're not going to say that they will get funded, but they can apply. We are looking, not even looking, but we are strongly supporting applications that collaborate. Collaboration is super important, whether it's collaborations between different areas of the city or organizations within the county connecting with existing projects and programs that exist within the West End currently.
So when you said that United Way would receive a 10% administrative fee, that's on the whole $200,000, so they're managing the process of determining who is qualified or not?
Well, no, that comes directly out of that resident-led council, right? They are managing the online platform, and then all of the administrative things that, of course, we don't have the most knowledge with. They'll be supporting that piece of it.
But the neighborhood will be able to determine which organization gets one of these 20,000. Are they all 20,000?
Well, they will be able to
up to
$20,000. Like, we might have a project that's way less than $20,000 that applies. And then as well, they're able to select an answer if they're willing to receive less than $20,000 as well, because what if we receive 20 applications and they're all amazing, right? We'd be able to possibly partially support all of them. And so we definitely want to have the most impact during this grant process. I do want to add that between January and March, we will be developing a scoring system with the resident-led council as well, in conjunction with the United Way, to define the strongest application.
So is that council already in place?
Yeah, some people that are in attendance today are a part of that resident-led council.
Great. And it's just one organization for the whole neighborhood?
Yes, and that's
Some of the grant review, there's a grant review committee that came out of the larger neighborhood. Residents that have been attending the meeting, Chanel posted over the last several months. So a few of those members volunteered, about 12 residents volunteered to serve on the grant review committee. And so they've helped to establish the guidelines for the scoring, the grants and the priority areas. And they'll be actually doing the application review and making the final decision on who will receive the funds.
And so will they be a part of the council?
They can be.
They
And I do want to define that as well, because that was a lack of clarity on my end. I understood as we kept going with this process that I need to make sure to clarify that. So for this grant review committee is solely for this youth and family summer program grant, right? These are individuals that will not be applying for funding, and that aren't representing any organization that's applying for funding. They're on a volunteer basis. Those individuals, of course, can serve on that wider neighborhood association. And we want to make sure that perhaps programs that are applying for funds can also be on that wider neighborhood association as well. We want the business community, nonprofit organizations, we want everyone to be included within that part of it all. But for this, there's two different groups.
So is that council already established? Okay.
It is.
So the neighborhood
Oh,
council?
not the neighborhood council. No, that's not established yet. I do apologize.
So what is the timeline for that to be
Absolutely.
established?
Absolutely. I will say that that has not been completely defined yet. We are hoping to begin the plan for that in January. But we definitely want to give this some time. We want to give this grant some time, because I think that certain people are going to pop out because of this grant. Like, we're going to identify some people that we never saw before. And so we want to give this some time. But we'll be working in the background to identify a coordinator to develop that. And then hopefully our goal is to begin the engagement and outreach for that neighborhood association, hopefully in late spring. That's our goal. And also we want to make sure that we are not stepping on anyone's toes. I want to give some time to make sure that we're having conversations, especially from leaders in the neighborhood that are already doing that work, right? What does it look like for us to actually perhaps think about developing those organizations that are already in existence that are supporting the neighborhood, right? Should we create something new, or should we support the existing groups that already exist, right? We still have to define that. And so we are working amongst ourselves currently to figure out the best way to start that process. But we hope to get that started in January, identify a coordinator in spring, and get it going for the rest of the year.
Another question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, as a matter of equity, trying to figure out how to word this. So, I've been on the board of nonprofits. I've applied for grants before. Sometimes you may need a lawyer, a grant writer to complete some of these grant applications. They can be very intricate, some grant processes. So I'd imagine some of the groups that'll be applying for these grants have probably, I'm sure some have applied for grants before, but there are probably others who have not. Is there any kind of way, maybe United Way can provide grant writing assistance or education or some kind of capacity building around that? Because you may have people who have new nonprofits, new community groups that may never have engaged in that kind of process, just as a matter of equity.
And that's something that we've discussed internally, is if we should have days, especially with the Miller Rec, to possibly just have people there to support especially new organizations that may have not went about that process
Right.
before. We have not defined any dates to do that. And we want to see if there's a need for it first. We've made sure that the application is seamless. I'm a person that's applied for grants, and I've seen that the process is the same if you're asking for $1,000 or if you're asking for $500,000. They're asking you the same questions. So we wanted to make sure that that's not the case. They're very direct questions. I think our biggest thing is going to be making sure that representatives understand the qualifications, and especially understand that they can apply with a fiscal agent. And we've also thought about if we need to solicit countywide nonprofits that want to partner with projects that do not have their nonprofit status with this process as well. And so we want to see what happens. We want to see what questions we receive. I mean, it was very intentional to have these information sessions before the grant application opens. This came directly from Jenny Lee of United Way because we want to make sure that they have that full time to commit to the actual grant application that full month. We don't want to take away time with having the information sessions during the grant period, right? We want to make sure that we knock those things out before so that we have all of our frequently asked questions posted. We'll be updating those on a weekly basis, and we want to see where the needs are. If a need pops up that we need to support more people with the application process as well, we can work to develop that.
Application is very simple. Relatively speaking, it's a very accessible application. I think in the, if you are able to attend the virtual session, the grant itself will be available for the potential applicants to see it. And we're going to go through question by question with them and answer any questions they have, clarify any issues they have. And I think if you see the grant, you'll be satisfied that it does allow for beginners and people who are not familiar with grant writing to actually make this grant application. So yeah, that was a very that was a huge part of the process of creating this grant.
Thank you.
And if I could touch on one thing as it pertains to that, our grant review committee was actually very adamant about the questions. They want to make sure that the applicants are able to do this work. They wanted more questions. Right. Actually, they wanted interviews. I love that, and I respect those individuals for that perspective. But I think that we've created a very equitable application.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I had a couple questions. The first one is, I thought the grant was 800,000,
It is.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And this page plus the next page only added up to about 500,000.
Yeah, a little over.
Where's the other three?
Absolutely, and I know that community members have been very concerned about the overall budget of the grant.
Do you have a budget for the entire overall grant?
I do, and I don't have that in the presentation, and I do apologize for that. I know that a major concern has been the amount of funds that the research partner Idea Analytics is receiving. I know that that contract was made far beyond my time on this grant project. I know that they have been responsible for actually applying for the grant and the reason why the police department was able to receive the grant, and has been a resource during this grant process. So I believe, they're receiving a significant amount. I'm not going to say that I'm against community members that are concerned with that. But I understand the administrative role of a grant process. And so there's certain pushback that I try to do. But I will say that, yes, our research partner is receiving a significant amount.
How much?
I believe they're receiving around 160,000
Can you
over
just-
3
You
years.
just, since it's not in the presentation, could we have emailed to us?
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem.
grant
I can make
budget.
sure to send that over, because that is in the submitted action plan. And so individuals that are serving on that grant review committee have access to that action plan. And so I have no problem with sharing that as well. And that will show you the full breakdown of every line item as it pertains to this grant. So, you know, some of that as well as supporting my role as well. That is also a part of that too.
And this committee, I think you said earlier, it was made up of volunteers from the community?
Mhm.
Okay. Who's providing the framework for that? Is the city providing that, or, I mean, we have 13 boards and commissions that have a framework involved in, you know, the city's, you know, involved in providing some structure to these boards and commissions. So I'm just curious where the structure for this is coming from.
In all honesty, I will say it came from me.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, I allowed individuals that were present during those monthly neighborhood meetings that were held within the West End. Whenever they signed in, they were able to volunteer if they were willing to serve on a committee. I wanted to make sure that it was open. There is no like member maximum or minimum or anything like that. You know, our biggest thing moving forward is going to be confidentiality. That's a huge piece of this is making sure that whatever is discussed in that room does not leave that room. But outside of that, I will say that there has been no formal structure of the I don't know, the obligations of that group.
I just have another comment or question, I suppose. If there's no formal structure, I presume the grant allows that, so I'll just.
Yes, it requires that.
It requires it?
It requires that there's a group of people that reviews the actions that we do. So there'll be, you know, a number of groups that come together during this grant process, and this is the first group of people that are coming together as a subcommittee, right?
My other question is whether or not you've reached out to the YMCA. We have a completely unique YMCA in Salisbury. For one, it's on the edge of the West End. Secondly, there are a lot of YMCAs that don't provide scholarships. Some provide a little bit of scholarships. Our YMCA provides 100% scholarships. We're the only YMCA in North Carolina that does that. 25% or 23, you know, to be more specific. 23%, which is over $2 million of the YMCA's budget, are scholarships to young people and to families who can't afford to pay the dues. Like I said, a bunch of that's people that pay nothing to belong to the Y. It's a quarter of their entire membership, and they're trying to do exactly, seems to me, what you're trying to do. And I'm just wondering, because of that, because you've already got an agency there that's investing $2.25 million roughly in the West End by saying people, here are the doors, they're open, come in, sign a form, get yourself a card, come here and use the entire facility as much as you want. Have you reached out to them?
Well, I would say that the YMCA has reached out to me directly.
They have or have not?
They have.
Okay.
I know that a member of their staff, Chris Wallace, has reached out to me a number of times directly.
He's phenomenal.
And has reached out to Parks and Recreation as well to ask how to connect with the West End. And so if they are still concerned with how to connect with the community that you're saying that they serve, then that is an issue moving forward. And perhaps they need more help than what is apparent. And so if we can support them in that, that's what we're hoping to do. And the work that they're doing is wonderful. There's a lot of programs and projects and organizations that are doing work that are in need of support as well. And perhaps the YMCA can support with some matching grants. We'll see.
I'm not suggesting that they need support. What I'm saying is they have the ability and the staffing to provide programs if you simply ask. And Chris Wallace is new,
Mm-hmm.
and like our newest deputy city manager came here from Chapel Hill with, tremendous amount of incredible resume, and he's done phenomenal stuff there. And if you haven't met him, you ought to meet him. He's great, and you ought to go say, we have these programs, would you like to help us with them?
Absolutely.
They're going to say yes.
Absolutely. And I think that what's going to happen is a lot of organizations that exist within Salisbury are going to want to help. And they are very aware of where we are with this. And I will ask for help as, needs present themselves. And as we've mentioned before, they're a longstanding organization that should be and is willing to support whatever initiatives that are within the city and especially Weston.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
So much. And now we will move to number 11, council to receive an annual report from Downtown Salisbury, Inc. The presenter is our Downtown Development Director, Seda Troutman.
All right, good evening, council.
Evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and council for having me. I am ahead of schedule from what we anticipated earlier, so I hope to keep it that way. So I have a very efficient presentation for you, mostly because just last month you approved the agreement between Downtown Salisbury and the city, a 5-year agreement for DSI to manage the Main Street program and the city's municipal service district tax dollars. So today I want to make sure that you're all provided with an update of what we've done and what we've reported to the statewide Main Street organization so DSI can remain an accredited organization utilizing those MSD funds and managing that Main Street program. So this is a map of our municipal service district. That's the purview of downtown Salisbury. It was expanded this past year. You'll remember you approved the expansion to include another block, bringing us to about 26 blocks in our downtown that constitutes downtown Salisbury, and that is managed by downtown development, but also by our board of 24 stakeholders who represent business owners, property owners, nonprofit leaders, as well as residents of our downtown. And that nonprofit board works to manage DSI, and they help really execute the 4-point approach in which our nonprofit operates. Our organization arm, our economic vitality arm, our promotion arm, and the design arm all work together to make sure that we are achieving goals identified by the city and by Downtown Salisbury, Inc., and most importantly by the stakeholders in the community. So those are the 4 pillars in which we operate the organization. We set goals based on those 4 pillars, and we execute them to make sure the stakeholders are happy. So I fully wish that I could in any way take credit for these statistics, but a lot of this is the hard work of our city. It's the hard work of the stakeholders, the property owners, and the people who are investing in our city. But these are some of the most important statistics we report to North Carolina Main Street that contribute to our accreditation and our success each year. In the past year, we had 56 completed building and property improvement projects, which is an increase from the previous year. We had 42 in the year prior. And in the past year, there was nearly $15 million spent in public and private investment dollars for physical improvements. That is fewer dollars than the previous year. The previous year included Bell Tower Green, so we had a very nice chunk of money involved in that. But again, $15 million invested just in those 26 blocks is pretty impressive. Our vacancy rate remained below 10%, with average increasing rental rates. And we saw 40 full-time jobs created with 28 part-time jobs created, and we had 21 businesses opened, as well as 4 expanded businesses, again, just in the downtown alone. Extremely successful, and these statistics put us at the top of the state in terms of development within a downtown district. Some other highlights from the past year, and we had a few council members who were able to join us when these awards were given, but at the March North Carolina Main Street Conference, Salisbury received 3 different awards. Salisbury Parks and Rec Department was awarded a Main Street Champion award, and Bankett Station at the corner of Lee and Innis Street won an award for Best Infill Building Project, and Bell Tower Green, of course, won Best Outdoor Space Improvement. So these are all statewide accomplishments, and again, we've had people from all over the state, Main Street organizations all over the state, reach out to us and ask about these projects, ask about a lot of the other projects we have going on in our downtown, to be used as an example. So a huge testament to the work that council supports, and that our stakeholders support, and that our downtown board supports. I think, as you all know, we have a lot of pending projects all the time. Some of the highlights that I wanted to point out that are some of the ones we've spent a lot of time on as a department and as a nonprofit. Our downtown parking pilot program. We have a group of staff who is getting together to assess this so we can bring an update to council in January. As of January, that will be 1 year of execution for that downtown pilot program. And we want to make sure you're all updated on the success of that. We will obviously continue the Downtown Salisbury Social District, which has increased the number of businesses who have participated. So we've seen even more people joining that after seeing the success of their neighbors. And we continue to see no incidents involved in that, which we're thrilled about and very appreciative for all the businesses who executed responsibly, and for those who help manage that district. We're continuing to work on the coordination of the Main Street project and the development of a communication plan for all stakeholders as we look forward to end of 2024, seeing some construction drawings for the streetscape on Main Street, and then looking towards 2025 when construction would be occurring. And we also continue to assist the Tourism Development Authority on their Rail Walk project. They're doing some really fantastic infrastructure improvements that a few months ago James Meacham mentioned when he gave an update to council, and we are working to make sure that that serves the needs of the stakeholders in that arts district in downtown. And then finally, I absolutely could not do even a quarter of what I do without Mel Dry and LaToya Price, who are the staff of downtown. And so they really do an amazing job with all of the 10 events hosted by DSI and Downtown Development. And we certainly couldn't do without the coordination and assistance of Parks and Rec as well. So really strong team, and LaToya and Vivian and the Parks and Rec crew are of immense value to us, and we really appreciate them. So those are all of the things that we will continue doing as we move into our 2023 and 2024 goals. I mentioned most of these with the parking pilot program and the Main Street streetscape project. But we also wanted to mention that we are continuing to work with the development group for the Empire Hotel. Still over there, it's still being worked on, and it's not been forgotten. We just have a lot to work through on a $25 million investment in our downtown. So we're excited to see that through in 2024 as well. So that was a quick update. You're all very invested in our downtown, so I hope you're up to date on a lot of our projects anyway, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And of course, please stay in touch with our events and information. We try and be as accessible as possible. So any way we can do that, we look forward to connecting with you and with the community.
Thank you, Seda. Council, any questions for Seda?
When you say we have a 9% vacancy rate, what's that counting?
It counts all storefronts. I don't count upper story, the residential units, but we count every single storefront and then how many are vacant. These statistics are reported and submitted in July. They're due July 31st. So this would have been as of beginning of July that these numbers are accurate. And so it is just Main Street level and street level on our side streets, storefronts, and then which ones are active and which ones are vacant.
And is there any update on the Empire? Is it getting beat up by interest rates or, I mean?
I think everyone is getting beat up by interest rates right now. So they're continuing to work towards finalizing their financing and their development plans. It is a beast of a project, and they are working towards being able to start on phase one, which would be the Eford section. And they're hoping to do that shortly. They've been communicating with city departments and with downtown, with DSI, to make sure everybody is updated collectively so we can all help them get to that finish line of at least getting some ground broken.
That's Josh's 5 row homes, right?
Yes, that is, yes, that's the project that he has been working on.
You, any other questions, comments?
Congratulations.
Yes,
you know,
congratulations.
Congratulations on what y'all have accomplished.
Thank you. It's not me, it's everybody else. I just get to report it to you.
Matt, I don't have a question, just a comment. I'm the liaison to that board, and partnership between a city entity and a nonprofit board is very unique, and the folks on that group, on that entire board, work really good together, and had some people roll off, got new people came on this past couple of months. It's just a pleasure to be part of that board. Say to you and your team, Parks and Rec, Public Services, every department really, anytime you guys do stuff, help out. And it's just great to watch how our downtown changes and ebbs and flows. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
I'm very excited about the work you're doing in preparation for our streetscape. And there's a lot of the markings on the street already, so a lot of engineering is happening.
Mayor Pro Tem mentioned it's a lot of different departments, so Wendy in Transportation has done an amazing job with that, and again, I just get to report it to you, so it takes the whole team back there, management team, of our passionate board, of staff, so a lot of good things happening.
Great, very exciting.
Yeah, Mayor, I would just echo, it does take a team, but I think Sada's being modest. She's a great leader and doing some wonderful work with the businesses, with the city team, and coordinating, collaborating. So thank you, Sada, for all the work that you and your team are doing. Good things
Yes,
happen.
very good things. Thank you a lot. Appreciate it. Okay. So now we will move on to City Attorney's report.
Nothing from my report tonight, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Congratulations again on everybody's reelection. It's an exciting night.
Thank you. City Manager's report.
Mayor, members of council, just 2 items. You'll remember a couple meetings ago, our Transportation Director, Wendy Brendel, presented our Uniform Construction Standards Manual draft. Remember, that was about a year-long project that is really going to help us ensure quality development. Wendy said at the time, this was just sharing with you, and we wanted to get input from the public, input from contractors and architects and developers and others. So part of that input opportunity is tomorrow. We've already advertised this, but I just wanted to mention this to council and for the public. We have a drop-in meeting tomorrow, December 5th December 6th at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 6. It'll be at Park Avenue Community Center at 632 Park Avenue in Salisbury. Staff will be there during those 2 hours to answer any questions and receive input on that draft Uniform Construction Standard Manual. We also are receiving comments regarding any questions or thoughts. You can send those to wbrin@salisburync.gov. Give everybody that again. Email wbrin@salisburync.gov. So the draft is available on the City of Salisbury website, and we look forward to getting comments from the public on that. Mayor, Council, the last thing I would just say, this is our one and only meeting in December, so I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe holiday season. And on behalf of the management team, our city clerk has some holiday wishes and also a little congratulatory gift to hand out to council and mayor, just some things from that you may need, City of Salisbury notebook and shirt and some things like that. So
Coordinated with you.
happy holidays to everyone. And Connie, thank you for pulling these items together.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Well, thank you, Connie. So nice. Thank you to the city.
Yes, thank you.
I've now got this in 2 colors. This is great.
Yours matches your. Switch to
I
gray.
have another one in a different color. Yeah, play pickleball in it.
It's too.
Dude, I have to go like
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they could have it.
No, either.
There you got your new workout.
I do. I don't want to get it dirty, though.
Oh, I don't care.
Chicken blood. And,
Took a shower before you came.
Thank you, Connie.
yeah, but I don't want to get the hat dirty.
Thank you.
Get all
Thank
sorts
you,
of
Jim.
blood on it.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
That's for the rain. We needed that for the parade. That's what we bring to the next parade. Okay, so council member comments. Anything that you all need to say that you haven't already said?
I want to say just one thing. Wade, I looked up the answer to my question because I think I want the public to know how much we have invested in our water sewers. It's $267 million. That's over $250 million with the B dollars. So I think you're accidentally looking at the wrong number, but that's an enormous amount of money that we've got invested, and we've
What the LGC is looking at is after.
Mike, Linda,
Yeah,
eat you
I
up.
get it. He said after depreciation amount, but that's the whole point, is that it's about 137 left. But, you know, we've got to always maintain, we've got to have a total investment of more than 267 million every year to maintain the property. And I think Jim Beamer's head's going up and down. He understands what I'm saying. I mean, it's got to be maintained.
Very important.
And so and again, I want to thank everybody, you know, for city staff for what you do. You do phenomenal work. Phenomenal.
Okay.
I'd like to thank the city staff as well for everything. And many boards that I'm part of, I get to work closely with the Public Works, and I'd like to thank them for the hat as well. Got another work hat. But also, you know, just thank everybody have the opportunity to now work on some of the projects we have started, you know, from the plaza to, when I first came on, that Ford City Motor loss, we approved it my first 2 years ago. Now we're at just full circle now doing it. But, you know, so it's a lot of things that we're working on, and I look forward to working with everybody. And as far as the city staff, you know, as far as some things I like to see, you know, help out, is that as far as us as well, is working on some things such as crime and then safety issues. And one thing I like to see, and under this look at, is you know, we have a problem with speeding in the city. And for some reason, we have, if it's not marked 35 miles per hour, if there's something that the city can do to make it 25 miles per hour, something different, you know, just to start there as far as safety issues go. Can we look into something that has, you know, just that simple thing, reducing speed? Because I think if everyone you talk to, it's crazy how, you know, the speed limits have increased around the neighborhoods. And you know, I lived in many different places, from LA to from DC, and you know, a lot of times when your driver's license is in residential areas, 25 miles per hour, but you go through Salisbury from 13th Street on Confederate going 35 to Wilkesboro Road 35 miles per hour during residential areas. So I'd like to see possibly, you know, the city could change something, that the simple step is that, going 25 miles per hour.
Thank you. Yeah, safety in our neighborhoods is so important.
Grateful. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Team Salisbury. And also thank you to our citizens who continue to engage, especially those who are always here. City Council, your presence, your words, your encouragement, and also the gift of challenge. I love it when citizens have questions, when they engage us, and I consider that a blessing for a city because you need feedback, critical feedback, to be faithful to the mission which we're called to do as a community. So very much appreciative for all of everybody's engagement. God bless you. Have a great holiday.
And Mayor Pro Tem?
Ready to play ball. All right, just very quickly, just a reminder, the Community Appearance Commission is doing a downtown decoration contest a little differently this year. So there is voting that's open until December 12th. It's at salisburync.gov/holiday decor. You can vote for your favorite holiday decorations for our downtown stores. I would also like to thank all the folks who put on the employee luncheon yesterday at the Civic Center. That was very nice. And for those people who I didn't get to actually see, I couldn't be there the whole time. But to say thank you, if I didn't get to say that to you personally, I think we all would like to say thank you to you personally. So thank you for everybody who works for the city that makes all that happen. And we all need you all to do that. So thank you. We had the boards and commissions reception last week, which was lovely. All the people who volunteer their time more than just a random meeting a month. It is a lot of folks, a lot of work goes into all of our boards and commissions, which help guide our city's direction. So thanks again to all those folks. And Chris, just your team that does the leaf pickup, I think I texted you this as well. Oh my goodness, what a awesome job and what a terrible job all at the same time. It has been so dry, and your team is still out there doing this thankless work that we complain about when it doesn't happen. And I just want to say thank you. Try to keep staying on top of it. This year seems to be worse than ever, and it is just it's just been a dust bowl. And I can't imagine the folks on your team that are doing that, how they feel all day long. So please extend our thank you to them on behalf of all of the citizens. We really do appreciate it, so thank you. And everybody have a great and safe holiday.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and ditto for all of the things that have already been said. And then a thank you from me to all the staff that I interact with every day. And I appreciate all the support. You're phenomenal professionals, and we're so fortunate as a city to have the quality of professionalism that exists and the passion to serve. I took lots of pictures yesterday at the employee recognition luncheon because it's amazing. The place was filled, and there were only about 200 seats at one time, so we had to do it from like 11 to 1:30, and it was just so fun to be there and serving people tea and pie, and you picked up your own and chose your own lunch from the line, but we got to serve a lot of food to a lot of people, and it was amazing. And so thank you so much for being there. I have a wonderful, safe holiday. And with that, I'll just give you two announcements. Downtown Salisbury, Inc. will host Photos with Santa and the Grinch at Bell Tower Green on Saturday, December 9th, 2023, from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then free rides on the antique fire trucks with Santa and the Grinch will also take place from 1:30 to 4:30, or 4 o'clock, excuse me. And then the City of Salisbury will host the New Year's Eve at the Bell Tower Green celebration, Sunday, December 31st, 2023, at Bell Tower Green. Festivities began at 9 p.m. and include food trucks, live entertainment, a live video feed from Times Square, and ringing in the new year at midnight. So everyone have a safe holiday season and drive safely and don't drink and drive. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Go to the meeting.